Hello everyone. So in this section we're going to continue discussing decimals, and we're going to review how to add and subtract decimals. Okay, so how do I add or subtract decimal values? Well, the important point is you want to make sure you line up the decimal points. Right, so let me write that down here. So to add or subtract decimal values, make sure you line up the decimal points. Okay, so for example, let's say we want to compute the sum. Let's say 21.07 plus 5.1. Okay, so I'm going to set this up so the numbers are in a vertical column, but I want to make sure I line up the decimal points. And because the first number goes to the hundredths place, the second number only goes to the tenths place, I can fix that just by putting a 0 there, right? So everything is now to the hundredths place. So I want to add these together. So now you start at the right-hand side and you add like you normally would, right? So 7 plus 0 is 7. 0 plus 1 is 1. The decimal point goes there. 1 plus 5 is 6. And then 2 plus 0, or just 2 by itself, is 2. So the answer is going to be 26.17. Okay, here's another example. Let's say I want to compute 75.285 plus 2 plus 3.871 plus 0.5. So again, I'm going to write everything vertically, right, in a vertical column where I line up the decimal points. So 75.285. 2 I can write as 2.000, right? So the decimal places match. Then I have 3.871, and then finally 0.5 I can write as 0.500. I'm going to add all these together. Okay, so again I start with the right hand, the right-hand digit, right? The one, and basically it's in the thousands place in this case. So 5 plus 0 plus 1 plus 0 is 6. Then 8 plus 0 plus 7 plus 0 is 15. So I put the 5 right in the hundredths place, and I carry the 1 to the tenths place. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 0 plus 8 is 11, plus 5 is 16. So now I put a 6 in the tenths place and carried a 1 to the ones place. And then 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So 1 in the ones place, I carry 1 to the tens place, and then 1 plus 7 is 8. So that sum is 81.656, okay? So it's really very similar to adding up whole numbers, except you line up the decimal values or decimal places, and then, or decimal points, and then in the answer, the decimal point goes in exactly the same location, right? So make sure you put the decimal point in that location. Subtraction is exactly the same. So let's say we want to compute 17.49 minus 10.2. So again, I write down the first number there. Now I want to subtract 10.2, so I have to line up the decimal points again. And the 0.2 I can write as 0.20, right? We already know an answer to decimal point is going to go right there, right in the same location. And now I subtract like I normally would. So 9 minus 0 is 9. 4 minus 2 is 2. 7 minus 0 is 7, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's my answer, 7.29. I didn't even need to borrow in this case. Here's another example. Let's say I want to compute 32.99 minus 7.555. So 32.99. I want to write a 0 here, right? Because I want 3 decimal places. Minus 7.555. Okay, so a decimal point will go there in the answer. Here I do need to deconstruct or borrow, right? So I have 0 minus 5. I can't do it, so I need to borrow 1, right? So this becomes an 8. And I put the 1 with the 0, so now I have 10 minus 5 is 5. 8 minus 5, that's okay, that's 3. 9 minus 5 is 4. Here I need to borrow again, right, in the ones place, so I rewrite that as a 2. I put the 1 with the 2, right? It's really a 10, right? That's combined with the 2 to give you 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. And then finally 2 minus 0 is 2. So 25.435, that would be my answer. Right? What about this? What if we have 10 minus 2.38 plus 4.92 minus 6.02. Okay, so the thing that you have to remember here is that order of operations are going to apply, right? I have addition and subtraction, and the rule is, right, they're at the same level, but the rule is I have to do everything left to right. So I would first need to do 10 minus 2.38, okay? So let me do that on the side here. I'll write it as 10.00 minus 2.38. So I line up my decimal points. I'm going to have to borrow, right? So this 1 becomes a 0. Put the 1 there, but then I need to borrow. This becomes a 9. Put the 1 there, but I need to borrow. So that becomes a 9. That becomes a 1. So 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 3 is 6. 9 minus 2 is 7. So this is really 7.62 plus 4.92 minus 6.02. Okay, now I do, again, left to right still, right? So now I'm going to do this. So I have 7.62 plus 4.92. Okay, so 2 plus 2 is 4. 6 plus 9 is 15, so I write down the 5, carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So 2, and then I write the 1 next to it, right? So 12.54. So this is now 12.54 minus 6.02. And then finally I can do that subtraction. So I'll do it on the side right here. So 12.54 minus 6.02. Make sure you line up your decimal points. 4 minus 2 is 2. 5 minus 0 is 5. And I need to borrow, right? So that becomes 12 minus 6, which is 6. So it looks like the answer is going to be 6.52. That would be the answer. Okay, but again, because it was addition and subtraction are at the same level, you have to do it left to right. That's very important, right? You don't want to forget the order of operation rules. Okay, what if I want to estimate the sum by rounding? Okay, so let's do a problem like that. Let's say we want to estimate the sum by rounding to the nearest tenth. Okay, so here is the original sum. Let's say it's 0.19 plus 0.5 plus 0.089 plus 0.021. Okay, I could write this vertically as well. So 0.19, I guess I want 3 decimal places, right? So 190, 0.500, 0.089, 0.021. Okay, But I don't want to find the exact sum. I want to just estimate it. So remember, if we want to estimate a sum, you have to round first, right? So I want to round to the nearest tenth first. And then I can sum them, right? Then I can add them together. So round to the nearest tenth first, okay? So let's look at each of these. The tenths place, right, is the one right to the right of the decimal point. So the 1 there. Well, because I look to the right, the hundredths place, that's a 9, which is 5 or greater. That 1's got to go to 2. So this is going to be 0.2, and then everything else drops off. This one is pretty easy, right? It's a 5. To the right is 0, so that just stays a 5. So this is just going to be 0.5. Here I have a 0. I look to the right, it's an 8, so that's 5 or greater, so that 0 has to go up to a 1. So this is 0.1. And finally, on the last number, I have a 0 here. I look to the right. It's less than 5, right? 2 is less than 5. So that stays a 0, and everything else drops off. So basically, this last one just rounds to 0, right? 0.0. And now I can add these together. So 2 plus 5 plus 1, I guess, is 0.8. And that would be my answer, right? So that's the answer if I round to the nearest tenth. So I've estimated the sum by rounding to the nearest tenth. It's around 0.8. Okay, here's another example. Let's say we're told a shopper plans to buy 3 items and they cost $4.99, $7.99, and $2.99. If she has $15 with her, will she have enough to pay for all the items? Well, one way of solving this is we could simply find the sum of the cost of those 3 items and see if it's greater than or equal to 15. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to add these 3 numbers, right? So $4.99, $7.99, and $2.99. Right, so I lined up the decimal points. So I have 9 plus 9 plus 9. That's what, 27. So that's going to be 7, carry the 2. Now I have 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 2, right? So that's 29. So there'll be 9, carry the 2. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 7 is 13, plus 2 is 15. So 1, 5. So it looks like the total cost, right, of those 3 items is going to be $15.97. So does she have enough to pay for all the items? No, not in this case. Actually, what is she short? Well, we could figure that out by taking $15.97 and subtracting 15, right? And we're going to find it's going to be $0.97, but that's the same, since we know there's 100 cents in $1, that's the same as 97 cents, right? So she's short 97 cents in this case. Okay, and then let's finish up with just a couple of examples from My Open Math. So in this question, it says Sam has $21.62 and purchases an item for $11.55. How much money does he have left over? So this is going to be a subtraction problem, right? If I take the original amount of money that he had, which is $21.62, and I subtract the cost of the item, which is $11.55, then what's that difference must be the amount of money he has left over. Okay, so I line up the decimal points, right? We know in the answer decimal point will go there. Then I carry out the subtraction here. So let's see. I need to borrow, right? So 6 becomes a 5, and the 1 goes with the 12, or with the 2 to form 12. 10 plus 2 is 12. So 12 minus 5 is 7. Then 5 minus 5, that's okay, that's 0. 1 minus 1, that's 0. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So it looks like he will have $10.07 left over. Okay, in this last problem, we just want to find the sum of these decimal values. So I'm going to line everything up, right, with the correct decimal place. Eight, 9,704. So I'm going to go put 2 zeros in there so it matches, and then 8.07000. Okay, so I line up the decimal points. And now add these. So 0 plus 4 plus 0 is 4. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 7 is, 13 plus 0. So that's going to be 3, carry the 1. 1 plus 6 plus 9 is 16. Plus 7 is 23. So 3, carry the 2. And then 2 plus 0 plus 8 plus 0 is 10. So write down the 0, carry the 1. And then 1 plus 0 plus 8 is 9 plus 8 is 17. So 7, carry the 1. So we write 17. So it should be 17.03304. Right? We simply added them together. Okay, great. So really that's all there is to addition and subtraction. Make sure you line up the decimal points, and then the algorithm is similar to adding and subtracting whole numbers. All right, next section we will talk about multiplying decimals. Thanks.